Glad to have you back to The Price of Business. This is William Edmundson filling in for Kevin Price. And we've got a lot more to cover today, so let's welcome Rex Solomon of Houston Jewelry. Morning.
Good morning.
Well, we're glad to have you on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit? Kevin Price has described you as a thought leader when it comes to geopolitics and international economics. And how did you become so well-versed in those areas?
Gosh, I really have no idea. I just have been a consumer of news and for decades, as long as I can remember, reading 2 or 3 newspapers a day. And of course, once the internet came along, I mean, it just makes it easy to keep abreast of what's going on. Reading Politico, The Hill, the New York Times, Drudge, of course.
Of course.
And you have to look at all sides. I mean, you've got to watch Bill Maher, you've got to listen to Rush Limbaugh, you've got to watch The Daily Show, you've got to watch the national news. And between all of the different sources, you're going to get a pretty good feel of what's going on. You can't just watch Fox or MSNBC. You need to watch them both together.
Oh, absolutely.
To get a view of what's going on in the world.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that you need to have that balance, and I don't mean the balance that they present on one channel, but the balance of looking through the different media that are out there.
Yeah, you've got to see all of the facets in order to get a hope to get a grasp of what's trending and what's important, what's really important, as opposed to what is spin control.
Yeah, of course, we've got big things going on here with the presidential election and really some unconventional candidates in the hunt.
Oh yeah, it's I don't know how unconventional, because this really harkens back to the 20s almost with Huey Long. I mean, that sort of populist anger, or Andrew Jackson. I mean, Bernie's campaign and Trump's campaign are very similar to Andrew Jackson. And it was that anti-establishment anger that thrust him into the White House. But it's ironic that it's coalesced around somebody who could not be closer to establishment than a billionaire.
Right.
And a senator, although granted he is a socialist, but Bernie has been in government the majority of his life. However, he is an extremely ethical person. I mean, he is exactly what you see. Mm-hmm. There's no BS about it. He's not sugarcoating it.
Yeah, and he doesn't ever look like he's really contrived. He's just saying what he seems to believe in.
This is the deal. Now, whether or not, if he were to be president, whether he'd be able to get anything done, that remains to be seen. Yes, he would on certain things he would probably find a way to work with Congress. That's the only way he's been able to get anything done as a legislator for however many decades. But I think that there'd be a lot of opposition. As far as Trump goes, I don't see how he works with the existing legislature of any sort, because a chief executive, in my case included, you, as a running a business, you say, this is what I need done, and you delegate it, and it gets done. Your departments do it. Right. A chief executive of a constitutional democracy, which only controls the executive branch, does not do that. You cannot make law. And that has been frustrating for other people that have come into this position in the past.
Right.
So I don't think he is the best person to fill the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be real interesting. We've got just so many primaries coming up here, kind of all in a nice tight package. That's going to really change the landscape of where we are now.
From a Texas perspective, there's just one choice. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Texas economy is in a very, very dangerous position. And we need someone in the White House who understands that.
Right.
And the policies that are in place right now are making it much worse and potentially could throw this state into a depression. And other states in the country, I mean, there's there's wide swaths of the country which have been devastated by our current energy policy and allowing Saudi Arabia to do what it's doing. I mean, what the oil minister said yesterday is essentially, Texas, United States, you're screwed. You guys either have to figure out a way to lower your costs or you're going to go out of business. Mm-hmm. And it's not possible, and they know that. So they are purposely trying to kill the domestic energy industry in the United States. And if that happens, then the United States will be held hostage by foreign powers for our energy. And that has been a keystone of American national security policy since 1973, that to not allow that to happen, to have energy independence. And we finally achieved it under the last president, and under this president, we are losing it.
No question. It's become more difficult to do things, and the taxes that they're talking about putting on top of energy when it's absolutely the worst time to do that is insane.
It's backwards. The tax that the president is thinking about what is on domestic production, that's backwards. No, you tax the imported oil. You say, fine, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, you want to sell oil at $5 a barrel? There's an import tax between whatever the price you sell that oil to and whatever floor we have decided is the minimum floor for oil to sell for in the United States. If we decide it's $50 a barrel, $60, $75, that difference gets taxed immediately upon importation, and that money goes to fund infrastructure repair. I don't care. You fund Obamacare. I don't care what you fund it with, but that will immediately salvage the domestic energy market. It will fund a tremendous amount of activity, and it will teach these adversaries of the United States, economic adversaries and sometimes political adversaries, that, it's not going to work.
Oh, I agree. And what's so bad is we're letting other countries bully us when they absolutely shouldn't have that right.
I mean, it is something which is easily controllable. There have been a number of times in world history when things like this have happened economically, and national governments have taken action to protect their national economic security and this is actual real fiscal security. Because without oil, without a steady supply of energy, our armed forces would literally, you cannot move tanks without oil.
Exactly.
Air Force is great. You don't have nuclear-powered bombers. You might have a nuclear-powered carrier, but that air wing can't fly without
exactly
jet fuel. So, I mean, it's really straightforward. Politically, I think that the only candidate who stands a decent shot of taking on either of the Democratic candidates is probably Senator Cruz. He's the only one who's going to be able to, seems to have the gravitas and the ability to debate Hillary Clinton and to win on a debate, or Senator Sanders. I mean, and Sanders has, a very emotional appeal, but Cruz's logic and it's something different. He's not very likable. He doesn't exude warm and fuzzy. I think that Rubio, he's going to be dismissed as a young, inexperienced candidate who's just saying talking points by either one of the likely Democratic candidates.
All right. Well, we've got to start wrapping it up here. So that's very good and thoughtful political conversation. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, of course, your day job and Houston Jewelry, been around since 1953. Tell us a little bit about that.
We've specialized in jewelry since 1953. Our first family store we had in Houston in the 1860s. We are one of the oldest family businesses in the state. We are one of the primary places that people go for engagement rings, loose diamonds, and In the last decade, we've become one of the primary buyers of diamonds and gold and used Rolexes in the city. People come to us, especially now, more and more to sell items, and we pay among the highest prices in the state. And then we manufacture new jewelry out of it. But unfortunately, there's been more and more people needing to sell right now.
Right. Yeah. Times are tough for a lot of people.
Yeah. It'll be a while before it gets better. But we've been through this cycle, at least our business. I've been through it 3 times already. And you know where it's going to go and how it's going to come out of it. And in a time like this, there's a lot of opportunity.
Right, and of course, people can learn more about Houston Jewelry at houstonjewelry.com, which is easy to remember.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Well, fantastic. We've got just a little bit more time. What are you seeing in the jewelry business? Any trends? Anything exciting going on there?
There is a move back towards yellow metals. About 10 years ago, 12 years ago, there was a dramatic shift away from yellow to white metals. Prior to that, you would rarely see a white metal engagement ring, etc. It was perceived as, that was my grandmother's style.
Right.
And there was almost overnight shift to white metals. Now you're beginning to see in the European fashion magazines yellow. We've always continued to sell yellow, but it's been a third to whites, 2/3. Now we have seen more and more younger customers wanting yellow and rose gold in addition to the whites. So that's a design change. We've been seeing an increase in interest in unusual gemstones, not your standard sapphire, ruby, or emerald, but things like kunzite, savarite, alexandrite, more exotic gems. As people become more knowledgeable about what's out there in the gemological world.
Mm-hmm. And I guess it's kind of fun to be able to have something that not everybody else in the room is wearing.
Exactly. And we try to have a sort of a living museum in the store to try to educate people about the history of jewelry and what different types of gems there are. One of the quirky things we have in the store is a life-size replica of the crown jewels of England, which we've had for about 10, 15 years. And every once in a while when there's a royal event that provides, there's always a news story about it, but it's a place where you can actually see a life-size replica of the largest cut diamond in the world.
That's very cool.
In the scepter, yeah.
Very cool. Well, good. Well, I want to thank you for coming on, and I enjoyed hearing your political views on some things. It was just such an interesting time we have going on here. And, of course, Houston Jewelry, houstonjewelry.com. Glad to have you here, and glad you folks keep doing a great job over there. But that wraps up this segment of The Price of Business. And stay tuned, because we'll be right back with more of The Price of Business.